So each of the fourth grade classes is in a slightly different spot in Nerd Camp right now. Instead of making two separate videos, I'm just going to start from where the class that's not as far is, and then eventually you'll both be in the same spot. So if this is something that you've already heard, skip ahead, and eventually it'll be something new. Right. They pulled open the door, and the whole cabin was drenched in light. Gabe shaded his eyes with his hand and squinted into the brightness. There were groups of campers in front of every cabin, all wearing their pajamas and in some combination of grogginess, confusion, and panic. The whirring and beeping became more intense, and the bright light suddenly went dead, revealing in the sky a flat, circular object like an enormous hockey puck with 3 spotlights sticking out the bottom. "Whoa," Nikhil said. "Whoa squared," said Gabe. "It's a UFO." A cold breeze blew through the camp, and Gabe felt the hairs on his arms stand up. It was cold in the middle of the night, and he hadn't thought to put on a sweatshirt. The rest of the boys from their cabin came trickling out, as did campers from all the other cabins. Everyone stared up at the flashing lights. Even though the counselors weren't around to tell campers what to do, no one moved from their posts in front of their cabins, which left all of Shady Field clear for a UFO landing. The campers became silent as the disc descended, slowly, easily, until it gracefully touched down in the center of the field. The field lights came on, and a door opened on one side of the ship. Out came a creature wearing a reflective silver suit. "Aliens," whispered Wesley. But as the creature hoisted itself up to stand on top of the spaceship, someone else had a different explanation. "That's my rocket science teacher," a girl shouted. Gabe wiped his glasses on his shirt and put them back on. He had no idea what was going on, but he didn't want to miss one detail. The speakers around the field crackled with feedback, and all the kids covered their ears. The feedback was then replaced by noise, as though someone was speaking, but in beeps. Beep, 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 beep. "Greetings, campers of SCGE," a robotic voice translated. A cheer broke out on the other side of the field where the older kids' bunks were. Gabe looked around at his bunkmates, and he was relieved to see they were all as confused but enthralled as he was. "Beep, beep, 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 beep. We come from a faraway solar system. Your camp is known throughout our galaxy for having intelligent human entities." This time, more people cheered, including Wesley and some of the other boys from Gabe's bunk. "Beep. We cannot have a group of humans who are smarter than us alien beings. Beep, beep. We tried to destroy you with head lice, but it didn't work." Everyone laughed and cheered, including the few people who were still wearing bandanas, even to sleep. "Beep, beep, beep. So we have captured your leaders. You call them counselors." Nikhil covered his mouth with his hand. "Beep, beep, 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 beep. We have altered their brainwaves. Now they are leaders of different nations. Each nation is a color." Gabe smiled and felt his heart beat faster. He was starting to catch on. "Beep, beep, 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 beep. The nations will war against one another. Once you intelligent human entities have destroyed one another, we alien beings can take over the universe." The camp erupted into cheers. A chant broke out from the upper cabins and spread until everyone was chanting together. "Color war! Color war!" Gabe shouted along with the crowd. This was the craziest, most utterly awesome thing he had ever seen. This totally topped all the stories he'd heard about how color war had broken in past years. What could possibly be better than a fully functioning flying saucer operated by the rocket science teacher? "Beep, beep, beep," came the alien language over the speakers. "Here are your counselors. Katie White, Bunk 2A, Blue Nation." Amanda's counselor came running out of the spaceship while all her campers shrieked and applauded. She was wearing a reflective suit that was neon blue. In one hand, she waved a large neon blue flag, and in the other she carried a blue bag. When she reached her girls, she reached into the bag and started throwing blue t-shirts to them. Next up was Francesca, the counselor who'd helped Gabe with his hair. She was dressed head to toe in yellow, and her campers shrieked as she distributed yellow t-shirts and waved the Yellow Nation flag. Beep, 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 beep. David Kilpatrick, Bunk 2B, Green Nation. Gabe threw his arms in the air and jumped up and down along with the rest of his bunk as David burst out of the spaceship and ran toward them, decked out in green. When Gabe got his neon green shirt, he put it on right then, on top of his pajamas. It had a picture of a UFO beaming lights on the words SCGE, Color War 2011. The process repeated with the remaining counselors until the entire camp was divided into 4 big teams: green, yellow, blue, and red. The spaceship drove off along the grass toward the lake, while the now warring nations shouted their colors as loudly as they could, trying to drown one another out. Once the spaceship was out of sight, a thunderous boom silenced the chants. It was coming from the lake, where green, yellow, blue, and red fireworks shot up into the dark sky. When the fireworks ended, the counselors, shiny suits and all, led the riled-up campers back to their cabins, where they were somehow supposed to go back to sleep. "What time is it?" asked Wesley. Gabe checked his watch. 4:45. "In the morning?" said Wesley, as though it could possibly be 4:45 in the afternoon. "That was the coolest Color War break ever," said Nikhil. "So much better than the director announcing it at dinner." "So much better," Gabe agreed. "At first I was really scared." "With the lights and the noise," said Nikhil. "Yeah, at 4 a.m, I was like, what is going on?" "I wasn't scared," said Wesley. Gabe looked at Nikhil as if to say, "Yeah, right." "Even when we thought was the police looking for someone who broke out of jail?" "I didn't believe it," said Wesley. "But there is no escaped convict, right?" said Nikhil. Wesley and Gabe laughed and shook their heads. "I know. I was just making sure." Back in the bunk, Wesley and Gabe climbed into their beds with their green t-shirts on, but Nikhil took his off and folded it neatly, just to be safe. "I can't believe we have to wake up in 2 hours and 40 minutes, Gabe moaned. "Maybe they'll let us sleep later," said Nikhil. "Maybe the first Color War challenge is to see who can sleep the latest," said Wesley. "I love Color War," said Gabe. Even though he had only experienced the very beginnings of it, it was true. People would be talking about what happened tonight all day tomorrow. Well, later today. It was a legitimately awesome entry for the left column of his logic proof. He could tell Zach about all of it. The flying saucer, the robot voice, the fireworks in the middle of the night. Maybe not the rocket science teacher part, without worrying that it made him look like a nerd. And even if there was something geeky about it, nothing Zach could say could take away how much fun this night was. "I'm so pumped," said Wesley. "There's no way I can go back to sleep." "Me squared," said Nikhil. "Me cubed," said Gabe. But Gabe yawned. And then Wesley yawned. And then Gabe yawned again. And within 5 minutes, the citizens of the Green Nation were all sound asleep. Problem: am I a nerd who only has nerdy adventures? Hypothesis: no. Proof: things I can tell Zach, I'm not a nerd. Things I can't tell Zach, I am a nerd. Number 12. Color War broke with aliens landing in the middle of the night. Number 12. Our algorithm was off by a few days. Chapter 19. Crash Landing. Quick warning here. I read this part weirdly because Gabe's brother does not write properly. So this is the postcard from Zach. I don't know if you can see, but there are a lot of misspellings. So if you hear some weird pauses, that's because it's a little tricky to read. Dear Gabe, did Color War break yet? I bet it breaks like a surprise. What kind of games do you play in Color War? Is it just like sports and stuff? I hope you win and beat that girl, Amanda. Also, your dad told me that your mom has a surprise for you when she picks you up at camp. I know what it is, but I won't tell you. This is probably my last letter to you, because you are going home soon. Are you ready for the wedding? Most mornings, the siren would sound at 7:30, and the campground itself would be just waking up. The air would be cool and moist, the grass would be damp, and the sun would duck in and out of clouds, rubbing its eyes and shaking off sleep, just like the groggy campers. But the morning after Color War broke, the siren didn't go off until 10. The sun was high and bright, the dew had dissipated, and the air was hot. The day was in full force, and that's how Gabe felt as he folded up Zach's letter, pulled on some shorts, and smoothed out his green t-shirt, refreshed and ready to tackle anything. If it was a regular day, he said with his mouth full of toothpaste, we'd be almost halfway done with our morning class already. It'd be almost time for lunch, said Wesley. He put down his toothbrush and looked at his bunkmates in the mirror. Weird. I hope breakfast is breakfast food, though, said Nikhil. It's the most important meal of the day. Breakfast wasn't just breakfast food. It was breakfast food divided by nation. There were 4 trays of everything. Scrambled eggs dyed blue, green, and red, and regular yellow. Tater tots dyed blue, green, red, and regular yellow. Oatmeal dyed blue, green, red, and yellow. Even the fruit was divided. Strawberries for red, grapes for green, bananas for yellow, and blueberries for blue. The only things that weren't divided were the orange juice and the hot chocolate. And that was okay, because orange and brown were neutral. After filling up on green food and neutral drinks, the boys went with the rest of their division out to Shady Field, just like they would on school days. Only today, they weren't lining up by class and going into the classrooms. They were lining up by team and finding out which battle they would face first. A large scoreboard listed all the upcoming battles and how many points each was worth. Battle. Field day, 200. Scavenger hunt, 400. Water sports, 200. Obstacle course, 200. Jeopardy, 400. Sing-off, 400. Team spirit, 200. Sportsmanship, 200. After a spontaneous chanting battle between the different teams, the older kids from each nation headed to the lake for water sports, while Gabe and the other younger kids stayed on the field for field day. Amanda snaked through the crowd until she found Gabe. She put her arm around his shoulder. I bet you wish I was on green with you, she said, but you're going down. We're enemies, Gabe said, realizing what was perhaps the best part of the next 2 days. I can't talk to you. Green Nation had a strong showing for field day. A boy from Gabe's bunk blasted to victory in the 50-yard dash, earning Green 30 points. Then Gabe and Wesley were the stars of the 3-legged race. They blazed past a team of boys from Yellow at the very end to come in second place, just behind a pair of girls from Red, which gave them another 10. Then the counselors brought out large soil sample bags from the earth science class to use for a potato sack race. Wesley, who apparently had a hidden talent for jumping far and fast, came in first, bringing the team's total to 70. The water balloon toss seemed like another sure victory for Green. Nikhil handled everything with caution just to be safe, so he was a pro at throwing and catching breakable things. Paired with thoughtful Victor Kim, who cupped the water balloon with such tenderness it could have been a living creature, they were a water balloon toss dream team. After a few rounds of poor throws and clumsy catches, the competition was whittled down to 2 teams. Nikhil and Victor versus a couple of girls from Amanda's blue bunk, and they were standing so far apart that you could fit a school bus between them. Throw, said a counselor. One girl tossed the balloon up and the other fumbled it. It fell, but it didn't break, causing the blue team to clap and holler. At the same time, Nikhil lobbed the balloon up and across to Victor. It was too light a throw, and Victor had to run up a few feet, but he stretched out his arms and caught it, gently cradling it into his hands so it didn't break. The green team erupted into cheers. "They're unstoppable!" shouted Gabe, holding up his hands for a double high five. "Go Nikhil! Wesley shouted, slapping them. He had dropped their balloon before the game had even begun, but the sun was so hot that his shorts were already almost dry. The counselors went around and made sure all the players took equal steps back. They were practically at opposite ends of the field. Ready? Throw! But before Nikhil could throw, a whizzing noise sounded from near the classrooms. Heads up! Someone yelled. Something was falling from the sky, spinning out of control. Gabe covered his head and ran toward the perimeter of the field with the other screaming campers. The object landed with a pop, right on the trash bag of loaded water balloons for that afternoon. The bag's contents shot into the air in a colorful geyser of water and latex. Some balloons shot up whole and then popped when they landed on the ground, splattering anyone in the vicinity. After the explosion, the crowd stood looking at one another, silent and soaking. Nikhil stared forlornly at the mess. He'd sacrificed his water balloon to save himself, and it was impossible to even identify it among the hundreds of casualties. The counselors went to investigate the point of impact. Whatever had landed was trapped inside the trash bag, which lay shriveled on the ground with water leaking from all sides. The rocket science instructor came running from the science building. She was wearing a lab coat and boxy goggles over her large glasses. "Sorry to bother you," she said, trying to catch her breath, "but has anyone seen a rocket? I was testing rockets for class on Monday, and I seem to have added too much calcium carbide." Only then did she notice the group of counselors huddled around the soggy trash bag. "Ah, I think that's it." Everyone started laughing and talking. Nikhil apologized repeatedly to Victor, even though their blue competitors had lost their balloon too. Gabe stared wide-eyed at the scene, shocked that something as regular as field day could be interrupted by something as smart as rocket science. So much for color war filling the left side of his chart without qualifiers on the right. But then he saw something that made him forget about his logic proof altogether. It was Amanda, and she was waddling toward him with her t-shirt and shorts plastered to her skin. Her hair was hanging in long, wet pieces. A broken red water balloon sat atop her head, its tie poking straight up. "What?" she said. Wesley and Nikhil laughed so hard they fell on top of each other. Gabe laughed so hard he started to cry. "Everyone's wet," said Amanda. "It's not funny." "No, it's not funny," he managed to say through heavy breaths. Amanda stood with her arms crossed, the water from her shorts dripping into a puddle underneath her. Gabe wheezed. "It's hilarious." Problem. Am I a nerd who only has nerdy adventures? Hypothesis? No. Proof. Things I can tell Zach, I'm not a nerd. Things I can't tell Zach, I am a nerd. Number 13. Green won 90 points in field day. Number 13. A rocket crashed into the water balloon toss because the teacher added too much calcium carbide. Alright, so both classes should be in the same spot now. I can move on to Chapter 20, Scavenger Hunt Strategy, and everyone will be caught up. So if that's the part you already heard, next one will be new. If not, then that just got you all caught up, so we'll all be together for my next video. Before I go, here's Colby. Here, bear. Alright, well, he's a little too sleepy. But I will see you guys next time, and I love you.